My name is Catherine, and I was 31 years old when my boyfriend looked me in the eyes and told me another woman calling him baby at 11 o'clock at night was completely harmless. For 3 months, I questioned my own instincts because of that sentence. For 3 months, I convinced myself that maybe I was jealous, maybe I was insecure, maybe I simply did not understand corporate culture. I should have trusted myself the first time my stomach tightened. I am an architect. My entire career revolves around recognizing structural weaknesses before buildings collapse. If a foundation develops cracks, you do not paint over them and hope for the best. You repair them. Or you condemn the building before it kills someone. The strange thing was that I could recognize unstable concrete from 50 feet away, but I spent months ignoring the cracks in my own relationship. Ethan and I had been together for 3 years. The relationship had always felt balanced. We talked about buying a house together, adopting a dog, and eventually getting married. I liked stability. Ethan brought energy into every room he entered. We complemented each other, or at least I believed we did. Everything changed after he accepted a position at a prestigious marketing firm. The promotion doubled his salary, filled his calendar with client dinners, networking events, and weekend conferences, and introduced one new name into nearly every conversation: Vanessa. At first, she was simply another coworker. Vanessa had a brilliant idea during today's meeting. Vanessa convinced the client to stay. You would actually like Vanessa. She is hilarious. I listened politely. I was proud of Ethan. Then the stories slowly changed. He stopped mentioning projects and started describing her personality. She is just one of those affectionate people. She hugs everyone. She calls everybody sweetheart. The office culture, according to Ethan, was relaxed and playful. I wanted to believe him. The late nights started next. Dinner became 9 o'clock, then 10. Client drinks stretched until midnight. When Ethan finally came home, he was never exhausted. He was energized, laughing, checking his phone every few seconds. One evening, while we watched television, he smiled down at another message. "Oh," he said casually. "Vanessa keeps joking that I am her work husband." I looked away from the screen. "Does she?" He laughed. "She says I know her coffee order better than anyone." "Is she texting you now?" "It is work gossip." "At 10:30? You would not understand." That answer bothered me more than I admitted. 2 weeks before the company gala, something happened that should have ended everything. We were already in bed. Ethan had fallen asleep with his phone charging on the nightstand. I was reading beside him when the screen suddenly lit up. The notification remained visible long enough that I could not avoid seeing it. Vanessa. Good night, baby. Do not be late tomorrow. My stomach turned cold. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. I barely slept. The following morning, while Ethan made coffee, I decided to ask directly. "I saw a message from Vanessa last night." He stopped stirring his mug. Then he turned around slowly. "You went through my phone?" "No." It lit up beside me. His expression changed immediately. Not guilt. Annoyance. "Oh my God, Catherine. He called you baby." Ethan laughed. A loud, dismissive laugh. "Seriously? You are upset about that? He called you baby at 11 o'clock. He rolled his eyes dramatically. "Please, do not become the jealous, controlling girlfriend." "How is asking a question controlling?" He slammed the spoon onto the counter. "Because that is just how Vanessa talks. She calls everyone baby, sweetheart, darling, literally, everyone." He folded his arms. "She is European. She is expressive. Stop making this weird." He grabbed his work bag and headed toward the door. "I thought you were secure enough to handle me having a real career." I stood frozen. If I complain about Vanessa's jokes, I look difficult. It hurts my reputation. Is that what you want? I never said that. Then stop acting insecure. The apartment door closed behind him. I remained standing in the kitchen, wondering whether I had imagined the entire thing. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe affectionate language meant nothing where he worked. That afternoon, I apologized. "I am sorry. Good luck with your presentation." His reply came almost instantly. Love you. Do not worry about Vanessa. She is annoying anyway, lol. I wanted to believe him, so I buried my instincts. 2 weeks later, we dressed for the company's annual black tie gala. As Ethan adjusted his tie, he smiled at me. One favor. What? When you meet Vanessa tonight, please be normal. I smiled back. I always am. I had no idea that before the night ended, I would watch the entire relationship collapse beneath a single white tablecloth. The gala was held in one of the most expensive hotels in the city. Crystal chandeliers hung above the ballroom, waiters moved between guests carrying trays of champagne, and every conversation sounded polished enough to belong in a commercial. I wore a black dress Ethan had once said made me look elegant. He wore the navy suit I had helped him choose. From the outside, we looked like a couple with a future. The moment we entered, Ethan began searching the room. I did not need to ask who he was looking for. We found Vanessa near the bar. She was older than I expected, perhaps 45, with silver blonde hair, a fitted black gown, and the kind of confidence people often confused with authority. A group of employees surrounded her, laughing at something she had said. Ethan's entire expression changed when he saw her. His shoulders relaxed. His eyes brightened. "Come on," he whispered, taking my hand. He was not holding it for reassurance. He was pulling me toward her. Vanessa noticed Ethan immediately. Her gaze moved over him slowly before reaching his face. "There he is," she said. Then she stepped forward and wrapped both arms around him. It was not a quick professional greeting. She pressed against him, and one hand rested low on his back. "You look incredible," she murmured. Ethan smiled. "You do too." Only after that did Vanessa acknowledge me. "And this must be Catherine." She extended her hand. Her smile was polite, but her eyes were measuring me. "I have heard so much about you. Hopefully something good." "Oh, mostly." The group laughed. Then Vanessa tilted her head. "Ethan says you design beautiful buildings while we do the unpleasant work of selling them." It was a subtle insult. Ethan laughed with everyone else. That hurt more than Vanessa's words. The cocktail hour became unbearable. Ethan and Vanessa finished each other's sentences and shared private jokes about lunches, clients, and meetings I had never heard about. I stood beside them holding a drink I did not want. I was physically present. Emotionally, I had already been removed from the room. At one point, Vanessa leaned close enough that her lips nearly touched Ethan's ear. She whispered something. He giggled, not laughed. Giggled. Then he lightly pushed her shoulder. "Stop," he said. "Catherine is right there." Vanessa looked directly at me. "She knows we are only having fun." I kept my voice steady. "That depends on your definition of fun." Ethan shot me a warning look. Dinner was announced before the moment could escalate. I checked the seating chart. Table 4. My name sat beside Ethan's. Vanessa's name was on his other side. Of course it was. The speeches began. Wine glasses were refilled. Vanessa kept pouring more into Ethan's glass before he finished what he already had. Her chair remained angled toward him throughout dinner. I tried focusing on the food. I tried telling myself I was misreading everything. She was expressive. She was affectionate. She called everyone baby. Then my napkin slipped from my lap. It fell beneath the table between Ethan's chair and mine. I bent down to retrieve it. The tablecloth blocked most of the ballroom light. For a second, I saw only shoes and shadows. Then my eyes adjusted. Vanessa's hand was high on Ethan's thigh, not near his knee, not resting there accidentally. Her fingers were spread against the skin exposed above his sock, and her thumb moved in slow circles. Ethan's leg leaned toward her. He was not pulling away. He was inviting it. Everything around me became distant. The speeches, the laughter, the clinking silverware. All I could hear was Ethan's voice from 2 weeks earlier. "You are insecure. It is harmless. Stop making this weird." I picked up the napkin and sat upright. Ethan was looking over his wine glass at Vanessa. She whispered something without moving her hand. He smiled and leaned closer. That was the moment the relationship ended for me. Not because Vanessa touched him, because Ethan enjoyed humiliating me while I sat inches away. A strange calm settled over me. I placed the napkin beside my plate. Then I stood. Ethan looked up. "Where are you going?" "I am leaving." His expression tightened. "What? Dessert is coming." "I have seen enough." Vanessa swirled her wine, a faint smile on her lips. Ethan glanced around the table. "Sit down. People are looking." I did not answer. I walked through the ballroom without rushing, past the bar, past the laughing coworkers, through the hotel doors. The drive home was silent. I replayed the image over and over. Her hand, his tilted leg, his smile. When I entered our apartment, I did not cry. I became efficient. Problem identified. Solution required. I took 2 suitcases from the storage closet and began packing Ethan's belongings: clothes, shoes, toiletries, laptop, chargers, anything important enough that he could not use it as an excuse to return. I placed both suitcases beside the front door. Then I sat in the dark and waited. Ethan arrived about an hour later. He entered still wearing his suit, his face flushed with anger. "What is wrong with you?" He slammed the door. "You left me there. Do you know how humiliating that was?" Then he saw the suitcases. His voice weakened. "What is this?" "You are leaving." He laughed nervously. "You cannot be serious." I saw Vanessa's hand. The room became completely still. Ethan's face drained of color. "What are you talking about?" I dropped my napkin. He blinked rapidly. "It was dark. You probably misunderstood. Her hand was high on your thigh. She may have brushed against me. Her thumb was moving." His denial collapsed. "Fine," he said quickly. "Maybe she got too friendly. We had been drinking. It did not mean anything. You leaned into her. It was one moment." "No." I looked directly at him. "It was the late nights, the messages, the pet names, and the way you made me question my sanity." Tears filled his eyes. "I made a mistake. You made choices. Do not throw away 3 years over this. You already did." He reached for my hand. I stepped back. The idea of him touching me made my skin crawl. "My name is on the lease," I said. "You can stay with your brother. Take your bags and leave the key." "Catherine, please." "I am not interested in another explanation." His face hardened. "You are going to regret this." "No," I said calmly. "I regret waiting this long." Ethan dragged the suitcases toward the door. Before leaving, he looked back at me as though he expected me to stop him. I did not. The door slammed. I locked the deadbolt. Then I deleted his number. The first week after Ethan left was quieter than I expected. I had imagined heartbreak would sound dramatic, like shattered glass or doors slamming in the middle of the night. Instead, it sounded like the refrigerator humming and my own footsteps moving through an apartment that suddenly felt twice as large. I blocked Ethan everywhere: phone, email, social media, even LinkedIn, because I knew he would eventually convince himself that a professional message somehow did not count as violating my boundary. The silence felt strange at first. Then it became peaceful. I had not realized how much noise Ethan created in my life. Every evening had revolved around his office drama, his anxieties, his victories, and Vanessa's latest brilliant idea. Without him, I could hear myself think again. His best friend Ryan contacted me 3 days later. "Catherine, you need to talk to Ethan. He is barely eating. He says you misunderstood everything." I deleted the message. Then Ethan's mother called. I let it go to voicemail. "Catherine, relationships go through difficult periods. Ethan loves you. Please do not make a permanent decision based on one mistake." One mistake. That phrase followed me everywhere, as though Vanessa's hand had appeared from nowhere, as though the texts, late nights, pet names, lies, and humiliation had not been separate choices. I blocked his mother too. Then I built a routine. Every morning at 6, I went to the gym. I lifted until my arms shook and ran until physical exhaustion replaced the pressure inside my chest. Afterward, I went directly to work. My firm had recently secured a downtown library restoration project, and I buried myself in blueprints, structural reports, and preservation meetings. Buildings made sense. A damaged beam did not accuse you of insecurity when you noticed the fracture. At night, I returned to the apartment and sat with the betrayal. I did not date. I did not numb myself with parties. I allowed the anger to exist until it began losing its power. Gradually, I understood that Ethan had not only betrayed me physically, he had treated me like a placeholder. I was the stable partner waiting at home while he chased excitement at work. Vanessa was the thrill. I was the future mortgage, the quiet dinners, and the reliable woman who would keep forgiving him. Fine. He could keep the excitement. I would keep my dignity. About 1 month after the breakup, information began reaching me through mutual friends. I had asked everyone not to provide updates, but gossip has a way of finding the smallest opening. My college friend Marcus worked in another department at Ethan's firm. We met for drinks one evening, and after avoiding the subject for nearly an hour, he finally leaned across the table. "You know what happened with Vanessa?" "I do not want to know." "You do." I sighed. "Fine." Marcus smiled without humor. "She transferred to the London office 2 weeks after you ended things." I stared at him. "Did Ethan go with her?" Marcus laughed. "She did not even tell him. He found out through the company announcement." Something cold and satisfying moved through me. Apparently, once Ethan became available, Vanessa lost interest. The secrecy had been exciting. The possibility of stealing someone else's boyfriend had made him valuable. The moment there was no girlfriend to betray, Ethan became ordinary. "She started avoiding him," Marcus continued. "Told people he was becoming clingy and unprofessional." I took a slow drink. "What happened to him?" "His performance dropped. He has missed meetings. People know enough about what happened to make things uncomfortable." The great romance had collapsed before it ever became real. Ethan had sacrificed 3 years for a woman who viewed him as temporary entertainment. I expected to feel pity. I felt nothing. A week later, the emails began arriving from new accounts. The first was titled, "I miss you." He wrote that Vanessa had manipulated him and that he finally understood how much he had hurt me. I deleted it. The second said he was sleeping on his brother's couch and missed our apartment. He promised therapy, transparency, and complete access to his phone. I deleted that one too. The third message was different. "You owe me closure. You cannot erase 3 years because I made one mistake." I stared at those words. "You owe me." The entitlement remained beneath every apology. Ethan did not miss me. He missed safety. He missed having someone who cooked dinner, paid bills on time, and believed in a future he could enjoy without earning. I emptied the trash folder. 6 months passed. The library restoration was featured in a local architecture magazine, and I received a promotion. I had gained strength, confidence, and a peaceful relationship with my own company. Then I met Colin. He was a pediatrician, calm, direct, and completely uninterested in games. He communicated clearly. He never disappeared for hours and returned with vague explanations. Most importantly, he did not have a work wife. For the first time, love did not feel like a structure I had to inspect constantly for hidden cracks. I had almost forgotten Ethan's voice. Then one Tuesday morning, he appeared beside me at the coffee shop near my office. "Hello, Catherine." I looked up. The man standing there barely resembled the one I had once planned to marry, and the way he looked at me told me he had not come for closure. He had come to ask for his safety net back. Ethan looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically. Something in his posture had collapsed. His shoulders curved inward beneath a blazer that no longer fit properly, and dark circles sat beneath his eyes. He held a paper cup with both hands. "I knew you still came here before work," he said. "That sounds less accidental than you probably intended." His face tightened. "I have been hoping to see you. I am on my way to the office." "5 minutes, Catherine, please." There had been a time when that tone would have disarmed me immediately. The trembling voice, the exhausted eyes, the suggestion that I was the only person capable of rescuing him. Now I simply checked my watch. You have two. Ethan nodded quickly. I know I handled everything badly. That is one way to describe it. Vanessa used me. There it was. Not accountability. A new villain. She told people I was obsessed with her, he continued. She made me look unstable at work. My numbers dropped and now management is reviewing my position. I waited. He stared at me as though expecting sympathy. That sounds difficult, I said. His expression changed. That is all you have to say? What would you prefer? I do not know. Something human. I nearly laughed. For 3 months, Ethan had watched me question my sanity while he protected his affair with Vanessa. Now that he was uncomfortable, he wanted compassion. I miss you, he said. No. You miss the life you had with me. That is not true. You mentioned the apartment in every email. Because it was our home. It was the place where I waited while you stayed out drinking with another woman. His eyes filled with tears. I was confused. You were dishonest. I made a mistake. You made repeated choices. The barista called another customer's name behind us. People moved around the cafe, collecting drinks and hurrying toward work. Ethan stepped closer. I started therapy. I hope it helps. I realized Vanessa made me feel important. She praised me in a way I had never experienced before. I praised you. Not like her. The sentence escaped before he could stop it. He looked horrified. I felt strangely calm. Thank you, I said. For what? For finally telling the truth. That is not what I meant. It is exactly what you meant. Ethan reached toward my arm. I stepped back. You had stability, loyalty, and a woman planning a future with you, but Vanessa made you feel admired, so you decided admiration mattered more than integrity. I know that now. And I know something too. What? You did not lose me because Vanessa manipulated you. You lost me because you enjoyed becoming someone who could lie to my face. He began crying openly. Several people glanced toward us. I love you, Catherine. Maybe you did. He looked stunned. But love without respect is not enough. The barista called my name. I collected my Americano from the counter. When I turned back, Ethan was still standing where I had left him. Can we have dinner? He asked. One conversation without anger. I am not angry. His face crumpled. That answer hurt him more than shouting would have. Then what are you? Finished. I started toward the door. Catherine, wait. I stopped but did not turn around. You should thank Vanessa, I said. What? If she had not been arrogant enough to touch you beneath that table, I might have married you. Silence. I might have spent years believing every crack in our relationship was something I imagined. I finally looked back. She exposed you before I built my life around you permanently. Ethan wiped his face. I can change. I hope you do. For us? For yourself. Then I walked outside. The morning air felt sharp and clean. My phone buzzed before I reached the corner. It was Colin. Thai food tonight? 7? I smiled. Perfect. The encounter with Ethan did not ruin my day. That was how I knew I had healed. Months earlier, seeing him would have opened every wound. Now he was simply someone standing inside a chapter I had already finished reading. Colin and I became serious gradually. There were no dramatic promises, no rushed declarations, just consistency. He showed up when he said he would. He asked difficult questions without turning them into accusations. When work became stressful, he did not disappear into someone else's attention. A year after the gala, we began searching for a place together. Not because I needed proof that I had moved on, because the relationship felt safe enough to grow. We found a condo with tall windows and enough space for a small office. We split the deposit. We chose furniture together. Every decision felt mutual. One evening, while we unpacked boxes, Colin found the gala invitation buried inside an old folder. He held it up. Keep or throw away. I looked at the embossed card. Once, that night had felt like the worst thing that ever happened to me. Now I understood it had saved me. Throw it away. Colin dropped it into the recycling bin. No ceremony. No speech. Just paper landing among other things that no longer served a purpose. Life with Colin never felt like a performance. We did not need to prove our happiness online or convince other people that we were perfect. We disagreed about paint colors, forgot groceries, and occasionally became irritated with each other after long workdays. The difference was that conflict never became cruelty. Colin did not punish me for asking questions. He did not accuse me of insecurity when something felt wrong. If I expressed discomfort, he listened, explained, and treated my feelings like information rather than an inconvenience. That should have felt ordinary. After Ethan, it felt extraordinary. The library restoration project brought new opportunities into my career. I began leading larger design teams, presenting proposals to city officials, and mentoring younger architects who reminded me of myself before I learned to trust my instincts. One afternoon, my supervisor called me into her office. She offered me a partnership track. A year earlier, I might have questioned whether I deserved it. This time, I accepted without apologizing. Colin and I celebrated at a quiet restaurant near the river. He raised his glass and smiled. To the woman who knows when a structure is worth saving, I understood the meaning beneath the words. And when it is time to walk away, I added. Several months after the coffee shop encounter, Marcus told me Ethan had finally left the marketing firm. His performance never recovered, and the rumors surrounding Vanessa had followed him into every meeting. He moved back near his parents and found a less prestigious sales position. I did not ask for more details. Marcus seemed surprised. You really do not want to know? No. Not even whether he is dating someone? I smiled. Especially not that. The truth was simple. Ethan's consequences were no longer part of my healing. For a while, I had found satisfaction in hearing that Vanessa discarded him. It proved my instincts had been right. But eventually, even that validation became unnecessary. I already knew what I had seen. I already knew what I deserved. One evening, an unfamiliar number called. I nearly ignored it, but the area code belonged to a client, so I answered. Ethan's mother spoke. Catherine, please do not hang up. I closed my eyes. What do you need? Ethan is not doing well. I am sorry to hear that. He says you refused to speak to him. That is correct. He made a terrible mistake, but 3 years should mean something. They did. My voice remained calm. They taught me never to stay where loyalty has to be negotiated. She sighed. People deserve second chances. Sometimes they do. That does not mean the same person must provide them. She became silent. I ended the call politely and blocked the number. That conversation did not make me angry. It confirmed how much I had changed. The old Catherine would have felt guilty for refusing. She would have worried that Ethan was lonely, that his mother was scared, or that forgiveness required reopening the door. I understood now that forgiveness and access were not the same thing. I could release the anger without giving Ethan another opportunity to hurt me. A year and a half after the gala, Colin and I hosted our first dinner in the condo. The kitchen lights glowed above the island. Friends filled the living room, carrying food, laughing loudly, and arguing over music. At one point, I stood near the window and watched Colin speaking with one of my coworkers. He saw me looking and smiled. There was no secrecy in his expression, no private joke designed to exclude me. He crossed the room and placed one hand gently at my waist. You disappeared, he said. I was watching. Everything okay? Everything is good. Later that night, after the final guest left, Colin began gathering glasses. I noticed a small velvet box near the center of the table. For 1 second, my heart stopped. He saw my expression and laughed nervously. I had a better speech planned. You placed the ring beside dirty wine glasses. I panicked. The honesty made me laugh. Then he became serious. I do not want you because you make my life easier, Catherine. I want you because my life is better when you are fully yourself inside it. Tears filled my eyes. That was the difference. Ethan had loved the version of me who remained stable while he chased excitement. Colin loved the woman who questioned, challenged, designed, led, and refused to become smaller. I said yes, not because I needed marriage to prove I had healed, because I had finally found a relationship where commitment did not require abandoning myself. Sometimes I still remember the gala, the white tablecloth, Vanessa's hand, Ethan's smile. But the memory no longer feels like humiliation. It feels like a warning that arrived exactly when I needed it. I once believed walking away meant losing 3 years of my life. Now I know those years taught me the most important lesson I have ever learned. Trust is not built by ignoring cracks. Love does not require silence. And when someone calls betrayal harmless, the safest thing you can do is believe what their actions have already shown you. Ethan asked me to talk things out like adults. I did something more adult than arguing. I accepted the truth. Then I built a better life on stronger ground.